This is the worst woman in British history. Lucy Letby grew up in Hereford city centre. She was an only child, and her parents seemed like normal people. She worked at the Countess of Chester's neonatal unit, a team of about 30 nurses and 7 pediatric consultants provided 24-hour care for hundreds of premature babies each year, some born as many as 12 weeks early and weighing as little as 11 pounds. Of the hundreds of babies that passed through the hospital's neonatal unit in an average year, only between 1 and 3 would die until 2015. In just 14 days, in June that year, 3 infants died suddenly and a fourth deteriorated rapidly without warning. All had been otherwise stable, still only days old, but expected eventually to go home with their parents. Lucy Letby, however, had other ideas. This silly cow, let me tell you all about her. Minutes after clocking on for her night shift on the 8th of June 2015, she injected air into an intravenous long line connected to a boy who was born the previous day. The boy was 6 weeks early, along with his twin sister. He collapsed immediately. Doctors rushed to resuscitate him as his mother, in a wheelchair, recovering from the labor, she sobbed, "Please don't let my baby die. Please don't let my baby die." Attempts to save the boy failed and he was pronounced dead at 8:58 p.m. This was all within 90 minutes of Lucy coming on duty. That night, the boy's father stood guard over his sleeping daughter's cot, meters from where her twin brother had died. Relatives took it in turns to watch over her for almost 24 hours, staying with her until 8 p.m. the following day. But this was cruelly the time Letby came back on shift. The little girl's alarm sounded shortly after midnight. She suddenly looked desperately ill, despite having no problems in her first 48 hours of life. One of the nurses shouted, "Oh no, not again," as doctors tried to resuscitate her. Hospital staff noticed her skin changing color in odd purple and white patches that they had seen for the first time the night before on her brother. The mother said again, "Not my baby, not again." The doctors managed to save the girl's life, but she would remain in hospital for another month before she was allowed home. Records from Lucy's phone showed she had searched Facebook for the twins' mother several times. The first shortly after finishing the shift on which she murdered the 1 day old boy, and then again the night after attempting to take the life of his sister. She searched for the mother again 2 months later. The nurse had searched online for many parents of the babies she treated. Police found the records of over 2,000 Facebook searches on her phone in the year 2016. In other words, 200 times a month she was searching records. And these records all had a disturbing pattern. Lucy often searched for several of her victims' parents within a matter of minutes, seemingly going one by one, hunting for grief. Lucy murdered 2 more babies in the days after she attacked the twins. I think I may have an explanation, but keep listening and come on to that at the end. Doctors were struck by the strange discoloration of their skin. It would later become clear that 3 of the 4 had been deliberately injected with air through an intravenous line into their bloodstream. This seemed to be Lucy's favorite method of attack. The changing skin color, a phenomenon many consultants had never seen before, was a hallmark of her crimes, although nobody knew it at the time. Dr. Stephen Breary, the head pediatric consultant on the neonatal unit, reviewed the baby's care, and besides a few minor learning points, there was nothing to explain why they had died so unexpectedly. But then he looked at who was working at the time. Only one nurse was on duty for each death: Lucy Letby. Brewery took the findings to Alison Kelly, the director of nursing, and explained that the mortalities were still unexplained, but added, almost as a postscript, that there was one common link: Lucy. Lucy was on shift. This was the first time Lucy had been identified as a potential suspect, but at the time, most colleagues felt she had just been unlucky. Over the following year, the young nurse poisoned two newborns with insulin, pumped others full of air, overfed a baby with milk, and caused trauma to one baby's throat by tampering it with his feeding tube. Almost all the newborns were attacked at night, often moments after their parents had left. A number were targeted when their nurse had briefly popped out of the room. On other occasions, Lucy injected newborns with air and deliberately overfed one at the end of her shift, so the babies deteriorated on someone else's watch. One of the reasons Lucy was able to get away with it for so long was because no one saw her harm the babies. But then, at about 9 p.m. in August 2015, a mother arrived at the unit with expressed breast milk for her 5-day-old twin boys. The boys were born 11 weeks premature, but had made such good progress that they were due to leave the hospital to go home. As their mother arrived, a horrendous scream pierced the dimly lit corridor outside Nursery 1. She rushed in and saw Lucy standing near one of the incubators. Her son had fresh blood around his mouth and was in extreme distress. The mother asked Lucy what is happening, and Lucy reassured her that he was okay and the blood was just from a feeding tube rubbing his throat. She told the mother she should go back to the postnatal ward and rest. 2 hours later, the doctors were racing to save the child's life. He had lost more than a quarter of his blood, and the skin of his tummy had turned purple and white, similar to the discoloration described for her previous victims. At 1:40 a.m., he was pronounced dead. The boy's mother, just broken by her loss, allowed Lucy to bathe her dead son before wrapping his 3-pound frame in the smallest white gown the nurse could find. His brother was her next target. This time, Lucy tried a crude new tactic. She poisoned him with insulin. He had been prescribed a tiny dose of insulin to help raise his low blood sugar levels 2 days after his birth and was being fed fluid nutrients from a bag connected an intravenous long line to his leg. In the early hours of 5th of August, just 24 hours after his twin had died, Lucy injected insulin into the bag connected to the child's veins and added more to a replacement bag that would be used when the first ran out. Bro, this woman is crazy. Why? Why? You're thinking why? She injected the second bag thinking if the first did not take his life, the second almost certainly would. The boy's heart rate surged and his blood sugar levels plummeted. One of his legs swelled. The doctors, perplexed, changed the fluid bag but saw no improvement. Little did they know the insulin was still dripping into the child's body. Only when doctors decided to withdraw the second fluid bag did he begin to recover. Results later showed that the child had extremely high insulin levels along with very low C peptide levels in his blood. It was conclusive proof that someone had given him a large, unprescribed dose of insulin and that a poisoner was at work. So, let me go over a timeline of everything she did after these twins. So, on the 21st of September 2015, another girl, Lucy, was suspected of harming her while feeding her at around 10 a.m. On the 9th of April 2016, Lucy injected insulin into a dextrose bag attached to another child. Tests later find his insulin level was at the very top of the scale that the equipment was capable of measuring, with very low C peptide levels. Again, this was proof that he was poisoned. The 9th of April 2016, a child suffers from an unexpected life-threatening collapse. His heart rate and breathing dropped dramatically and he came close to death. He survived but suffered brain damage as a result of this attack. The 3rd of June 2016, Lucy tried to take the life of a child days after he was born. The newborn boy had hemophilia, a condition causing severe bleeding. Lucy used this as a cover to attack him by thrusting his nasogastric tube into his throat, causing trauma. On the 23rd of June 2016, Lucy murders the first of two triplets a day after returning from a holiday to Ibiza. The first child had been a perfectly healthy baby boy and was due to go home when he collapsed unexpectedly. The x rays show a higher than normal amount of gas in his body, causing police to believe he was murdered by air. Shortly after taking the life of the first child, Lucy then turns on the other one. The nurse pumped air into the boy's stomach via his nasogastric tube while feeding his milk at around 6 p.m., 13 minutes after his brother had died. Experts believe this excess air shattered the little boy's diaphragm. Doctors believe that he would have made a full recovery, but as they ready him for another hospital, Lucy said, "He's not leaving here alive, is he?" She had made a similar remark when another child fatally collapsed a year earlier. Now it is said there was up to 17 cases. Some were murders, some were attempted murder. The trial has been ongoing for around 10 months. These were notes that were submitted into evidence. The image is on the screen. You can press pause and you can read it fully if you'd like. In her house, police found post-it notes. Some of them wrote, "I don't deserve to live. I killed them on purpose because I'm not good enough to care for them. I'm a horrible, evil person." She also wrote, "Please help me. I can't do it anymore." One note read, "No one will ever understand or appreciate what it's like," while another said, "I want someone to help me, but they can't. So what's the point in asking? I hate my life." Now she was found guilty, but her sentence has not been confirmed yet. The trial is still ongoing. We're just waiting on her sentencing phase. Now, she was having an affair with a doctor, and some of her notes refer to the doctor saying, "Our love is all we need." I don't think that played a part. I genuinely believe she was hearing voices, hallucinating, maybe even possessed. Oh, not by a demon, by stupidity. There's definitely some mental illness at play. You don't just do this randomly. Randomness does not exist. There wasn't found to be any child abuse or anything of that nature. This was, to most people, a normal woman. Therefore, I think at some point she started hearing voices, she started seeing things as schizophrenia, hallucinations, psychosis, whatever you want to call it. Either way, she is one sick individual. This is the first case where every victim had no name. Either that or the names were redacted for safety concerns or whatever. But if you get like 17 cases and there's not a single name, that's pretty disturbing. She won't be sentenced to death. There's no death penalty in England. She may get a whole life order. That's the British equivalent of life without parole. As said, she may have some mental deficiencies, but they would have gone through a psychiatric evaluation, which I'm guessing she passed with flying colors. So I guess the only conclusion is, what a fucking moron. Thank you for watching.